Hello, everyone. Welcome. There's a few people here already, a few people saying that you're very excited and looking forward to it. I, for one, am absolutely looking forward to it. I've been looking forward to this for a little while. So very great to see you all here. Thanks. This is my name's Kit, and this is obviously Voja in the middle and Brandon here on the right. So today, the sort of way this is going to work today is we have planned answers to these two questions. The two questions are: which tablet would we actually buy, and which popular device would we not buy, and why? We've got a lot of mutual respect between the three of us. At least we certainly did before we started this discussion and came up with this idea. So we're hoping by the end of it, we still got that mutual respect. It's kind of like if we know what we know. So we are reviewers of e-ink tablets, and we know a lot about them. We know which ones and the features we like and dislike, but somehow we've lost our e-ink tablets and we don't have one. What would we be going out to buy tomorrow? Like they've been stolen or destroyed by fire or something. What would we buy tomorrow just to get working again? So we're each going to present our choices and reasons why, and then we'll have a little bit of a discussion. We'll hopefully ask each other some probing questions and some difficult ones to answer, I'm sure, and give each other reasons why we might not go down that route. And then we'll take some questions from you guys as well. So we've just decided to go left to right, but anything to add, Voja? You crack on and say hi.
Yep, just hi to, first of all, Kit and Brandon, and thanks for agreeing to do this whole thing, because it's a ton of fun, at least for me, and I hope it's fun for you guys and for the viewers as well. And also we try to kind of tackle, real world useful stuff that's also fun for us to talk as well. And while the last time we kind of discussed previously, who's going to do what and everything, I really like this one because we genuinely have no idea. We made it a point that we don't tell each other what we're going to choose and what's the whole thing. So hopefully that makes it even more fun and more interactive for all of us here as well. So that's that, and definitely like super awesome to see people tuning in, and hope you guys find it fun.
Yeah, and I'll just follow that. I'm just really happy that we were able to do this again. I think the last time we did this, it was cold outside, and I think it's almost cold again. And so we'll definitely have to do this more often. I guess one thing I'm curious about, we're each going to announce what we would buy and what we wouldn't buy. I'm curious for those that are watching, if you can guess what devices we're going to say we would buy and what we wouldn't. So before we get started here in the next couple of minutes, drop those down in the comments, because I'm curious to see who gets it right and who doesn't.
Yeah, and I think we've got our own sort of thoughts and guesses what each other are going to say. When we came up with this idea, Brandon said, "I know exactly what you're going to say, Kit." You're just too predictable. So I've been thinking about whether I want to go down that predictable route, and if there's any way that I kind of couldn't go down that. I've been really thinking about.
Did I throw you off? Did
Yes.
you get game theory going around?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Wolf already knows. So yeah, tell us what you think then. Come on, you can't tell us halfway through. You can't be like, oh, I knew you were going to say that, Kit.
Yeah, I guess the other thing is, before we get going, throw in any questions that you're curious about, because I think we're going to have some time at the end, and would love to spend the last 10 or so minutes answering any questions you guys might have, and maybe having a little bit of a discourse where generally we're apart and you can only ask one of us. Here's an opportunity to ask us and have us actually discuss it.
Yeah.
If we have any difference of opinion, we'll obviously talk through that.
And we find this really interesting because, as we were discussing last time we did this, we all think, there isn't a out and out best tablet for absolutely everybody. It is a case that for some people, it's going to be better for one use case or the other. And we are three people with three different use cases. And I think that bears out what we are likely to say. I imagine it is going to bear out what we're likely to say. I just don't know. Interesting. I don't know whether we're putting that option in the popular tablets option there. We'll see. We will see. Yes, perhaps.
We'll see.
You guys are both locked in, right? There's no chance you're going to switch it up.
No, there's no chance I'm going to.
No.
I don't think.
I've given it some thought about that.
Yeah. I tried. I thought, is there any way that I'm not going to say this? Totally stumped for Brandon. Yeah, I think I'm stumped for what you're not going to pick.
I guess, are we all three going to pick one of the major three?
Or well, major free. Right. I think it's got to go.
Talking about major tree, what is this nonsense? I don't know what you're talking about. It's a complete mystery here. No, but yeah, I think a valid question is especially here because this is something that I wrestled with when I was thinking about this whole thing, because I kind of was thinking about it genuinely, like if it was a real world situation like this.
Mhm.
We're like now borderline October, and traditionally we know that, you know, some new devices normally come out from one of the manufacturers at this time. So I think that this is something that we should at least keep in mind as well while discussing this as well, because I think it's going to be important, especially for the viewers here, because a lot of them are going to find themselves exactly in this situation because the calendar, you know, that's how it works.
Cool.
So I know that was a challenge for me personally.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Interesting.
Voja hates
Which way you go?
Well, my first device has just taken a little while to boot up, so that might be a clue.
Oh, they need to be turned on? Oh, no.
We're doing demos. Well, right. We're
I
going
guess
to
one thing we should say throughout all of this is, regardless of what we say we like and what we say we don't like, that shouldn't affect how you feel about what you've purchased. And this is very much an individual decision, and it's very much about how you use your device and what situation you're in. So just because I like something doesn't mean it's the right fit for you. And I think each of us have a different use case. So I know that's going to be a part of what I'm going to talk about, is why my choice is right for me and why the thing I don't want isn't right for me. So that's an important thing to take into account when you're trying to use this knowledge.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that's a really important point, because this is not intended to be an answer to your guys' questions. What should I buy? We wanted to address the same question, what should I buy? We wanted to address it from our own individual subjective perspectives, because that's what we got. You know, that's what we got to work with, and that's what we can actually present to you guys with. And I think what's useful is going to be also talking through the mindset and the reasons why yes, why not, why this, why not this, what was the thought process behind it. And hopefully between the three of us, because we have similarities, but we also have, much more importantly, differences, which makes this more important and relevant to actually talk about. Hopefully you guys are going to pick out, hey, I identified with this, and then hopefully it helps you with your thought process, so you can kind of figure out, if you find yourself in a situation, what to buy and why to go for something and why not to go for something. At least that's how I was thinking about it.
Yeah, I think that's why we felt it'd be so useful. And Brandon, quick question: do you have a hard like end to this one? Do we have to? No,
Nope. It's the weekend. We can go as long as we
can
want.
go. Yeah. And hello, everyone all around the world. Hopefully, this is a good time to stream as well, and let us know any questions. And at the end of each little presentation, we should have the time to take questions on the particular device from you guys. So starting then with,
I guess one good point there, Kit. Obviously, if you're here, this time worked for you. But if you're watching this not live, let us know down in the comments what a better time for you would have been.
Yeah, there was a question, will this be available as a VOD afterwards? Yeah, it should be. It isn't going to get deleted afterwards. It'll be available. So hello, if you're watching on the replay, do feel free to just fire in the comments. The normal comments, we find them very, very useful to help us know what to cover. And we'll try and answer as many questions as we can on that type of thing. I think, yeah, budget was a consideration. That's certainly something that I'll be talking about in mine. So let's, if we're ready. My what would I buy is the Tab Ultra C. Is there any surprises there, gentlemen?
No.
I did think very hard about this one, and for one reason, just because I didn't want to be so predictable. You don't like to think of yourself as being so transparent, but I have made a couple of videos.
Think of it as consistency. You're consistent.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, consistency is a major thing in influence, isn't it? Yeah, I did have to go with this. I really thought hard. The only possible reason that I probably wouldn't be going for this right now would probably be money. I might find it actually reasonably hard to justify the sort of £600 you're going to have to spend out this. And if you can get the deal thrown in about £650 with the keyboard case, I do really enjoy the keyboard case on this. But I just was racking my, is there any reason I wouldn't buy this? And if I was going to go for money, I might think of the Scribe. I might even think of the Remarkable with some third-party accessories. But then I would just be thinking of all the things that I couldn't do on those. And generally, the thing that would persuade me is the usage of these apps on here, really. And they marketed the Tab Ultra, launched as a e-ink PC. I don't think that's the case, but the use case is shifting gradually, for me at least, towards that. When I first bought a Remarkable, I was just there for the note taking. All I wanted to do was write notes on a PDF, which I can obviously do on this this tablet and do quite a lot. And then why my thing isn't showing just now, and do make notes on my planner PDF on here. And I wanted note taking. I wanted notes for so many different reasons. But since the advent of the Tab Ultra, and in fact, really since the Note Air 2 Plus, it's just the case that I have just discovered that I want to do all of these other things on e-ink, and I do use this quite a lot as an emailer. I do use this. I did a really quick live stream just the other day, and I said at the end of that, right, I'm going now, and I need to do some writing. I need to write a review of the Big Me, actually, as the reviews I'm working on at the minute. And this is the thing I took, and I sat and I opened up Docs, or in fact, I think I was typing into Xtiles that day, and I opened up Xtiles and I typed with this thing on the e-ink screen. And I think now that it's become the point that I enjoy the e-ink so much that I want to do those extra things on the e-ink screen. And I think at the minute, this color version is really the most compelling one, the most compelling device for that, which has become my use case. I think the other thing that I was wondering whether I would really go with this was the discussion about battery life, which is we've discussed quite a bit in our reviews, and it is the case the battery life isn't as good as the Remarkable 2. The Remarkable 2 or a lot of the other competitors, or even, indeed the Books Note Air 2 Plus. So if the battery life was really something you wanted to have, you want that 2-week battery, and you do want that 2-week battery. I was thinking about that, but really,
Yeah, I was going to ask you a question, Kit. If you didn't need color, or you didn't care about color, would you still get the Ultra C?
I think I would, I think I just would, because I think what I care about is using the apps. And what I care about is, and I just have always felt that, like, if I go into the Word app, that distinguishing the blocks on here, or when you're in an actual document, distinguishing all these bits up here, they're just kind of subtle differences in tone, can you see? And that just shows up better in color. So that's where I was going for there. And I just think so many apps just work better in color. And it is the case, if I was to choose between the battery life or these amazing screen modes, and honestly, like I've been in ultra fast there, but I thought I was imbalanced, because it just still looks so crisp and clear even in there. And I went back recently and I did a bit of a side-by-side. I've done the e-ink tablet World Cup recently, and had the Note Air 2 Plus going again. I thought, oh yeah, this is what it used to be like. And that's the significance of the change that books have done recently with the GPUs. It's just become now so much more viable to do this way. And the interesting thing, I hope they'll bring a firmware update which can do better power management with this. I hope, I hope that will happen. I wonder whether it's just the way the processors and the GPUs are, and that kind of, if you want this kind of screen performance, you have to accept the loss of power management, the loss of battery life. But I think that I would go with that. I would, that's the trade-off that I think I would accept, that trade-off for the battery. And I still am getting about 3 days with my use case, incidentally. So it is kind of like I can.
Probably half of what you were getting on Black and Blue?
Less than half. Yeah, it's I was charging the Note Air 2 Plus every weekend. I was, and then it lasted a week easily, sort of maybe even 50%, 40% by the end of the week. And now, it is a case that I just have to just pay a little bit of attention to the battery life meter, basically. And often I can get away with just plugging it in for an hour and it tops it back up to 80, and that's good through the next few days. Or it's just a case of just making sure you charge it. But with the Remarkable, for instance, that's one of the best battery performances, and it really is the case that you would just charge it once every. You wouldn't even charge it the weekend. You would just, when you noticed it was at 20%, you think, at some point today or tomorrow I better charge it, and you just would leave it in for an hour, connected to your laptop, even on a trickle charge, and it would get there. So that's where I'm at, and that's why I would buy that. I think that's all I sort of planned to say. But any more questions from you two?
I guess do you
just
go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, go, Brandon.
No, I've been talking. Go ahead.
I just wanted to kind of offer a comment regarding the books Tab C versus Tab Ultra C versus Tab Ultra, and if I were to choose between those two, and I know this is maybe not the popular one, but I don't care so much about the color, even though it does make a difference. What really surprised me with the Tab Ultra C was the tone of the whiteness that it has. It's newspapery, kind of yellowish. It's not greenish. It's not really ugly, and it's really pleasant. And when I kind of switched back from Tab Ultra C testing it, and I switched back to my old Tab Ultra, I found it to be too bright. And I know that's not going to be a popular opinion at all, but for my eyes and for my sensitivity, I found myself, when I had both of them side by side, I would always go for the Tab Ultra C, not for the colors, but for that background, which of course a ton of users are going to say like, no way, that's way too dark for me. But for me, that was a complete surprise. So that's something that Tab Ultra C works.
That low contrast
just looks pleasant.
Yeah, that's the light to write off now. That low contrast is actually quite pleasant to write on.
So this is interesting because I maybe have like a hot take difference of opinion on this, which is I love the 300 pixels per inch on the Ultra C, but I find, and I also like the color, but when reading black and white content, I find the color matrix distracting. I see it when I'm looking at it, and in my opinion, I still think there's a place for a black and white tablet. I really hope Books continues to have a true black and white tablet, even though they have color technology, and let people choose based on what their use case is. So like, because the Tab Ultra isn't 300 pixels per inch. And so will we ever see like a refresh for that?
That would be a nice thing to see.
I think it's very interesting to see where will they go when whatever the screen is that's in the Kindle Scribe is available to everybody. It must be, surely that must be the case. And
that's soon, right? Like, I think it was rumored that it was a 1-year exclusivity.
So that's very soon then, isn't it? That's this sort of
that's November now.
So questions from the audience, I guess. Other points. Wolf says it charges fast. It does. Yeah, exactly. It's 3 days, but it does. Yeah, this one, Voja, this you've spoken about this quite a lot. Yeah, I just think
we talk about the wobble.
Yeah, God, they just didn't need to
so much.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
I use this keyboard case a lot, so I don't notice that.
Yeah, the case is basically required, or at least with my levels of OCD, you have to use it.
No, it's not just OCD. You can't write on it. And even if it didn't have the camera, it would still slip around like all previous Books devices would. So you need to add some silicone.
Yeah, I used to put those little rubber feet on it.
Yeah, I know, but Kindle Scribe did it. Like, how hard? What the hell is going on? Why not? It's very kind of straightforward kind of thing.
Yeah, you just didn't need the thing anyway. You didn't need the bump. That camera is not a camera that needs to have extra housing.
No.
Yeah.
No, and especially when it's not aligned perfectly.
And it isn't on mine. And you can visually see that. I know you measured it.
Yeah, and I got it like, okay, Tab Ultra happens, and they've already machined the whole thing. The whole production run went. Okay, you go with that. Tab Ultra C, the same thing again. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, there was a lot of reuse between that, right? But they made some minor changes to the camera bump, right, Voja?
Did they?
That they changed the roundness of it. Like it wasn't quite exactly the same.
Not so sure, not that I've noticed. And I think
Okay.
that's the whole problem, because I think that they are basically have to save money on it, because it's the same housing. It's just they spray it with a different color. So it's the exact same housing. And from my measurements, as far as I remember, it's the same two-step measurements as well.
Same.
So it's
I'm comparing
pretty much
mine to kits that's on screen.
maybe the plastic cover, maybe it's a little bit rounded. But I've also remember that some of the users would say like, hey, I measured and on mine, the camera housing was aligned. So, who knows?
So Tommy mentioned fingerprint marks on the screen. I also agree. I notice temporary discoloration with my fingerprints on the color screen that I never felt on the other devices. Do you guys feel any of that?
It's not something I've actually noticed, but it's probably something that when you now know about it.
Yeah, like
not something that
maybe I have
caught my
greasy
attention.
fingers. It feels like the oils from your hands react differently to the color screen than I noticed previously.
Yeah,
there is definitely a difference. The tone of the screen, there is a difference in there.
Yeah. Well, it's the matrix thing, so you have it or you don't.
Yeah. Cool. Any other questions from the audience, or should we fire on with the next?
Let's just do this quick one from Marcus. Do the books devices require Google account? They do not.
No, you don't. No, you don't have to. No, not at all. No, I think to use Google Play, you need to.
Yeah, that. Yeah. In order to use the Google Play Store and to utilize the whole point of having access to all of the apps and expandability of the functionality of the tablet itself, you have to have, obviously, Google account.
Well, sideloading is a thing
Play
too.
Store.
You can sideload without Google.
If you want to go that route, but sideloading APKs from third-party sites is also a source of Trojans and viruses. And the person asked that they're very safety and privacy kind of oriented, so I would not be able to recommend if somebody's concerned about safety, I cannot recommend sideloading APKs that are downloaded from non-Google Play Store, because you do not know what has been packed in there. It's just, that's how it's been since the 19s with the exe files and zip files and then DLL files when we got Windows. So yeah. Oh, sorry, Brandon, you don't know what I'm talking about because you're probably on Mac. You guys don't even need antivirus. It's
you're PC over here, but when I want to get things done, yes, I'm on my Mac.
I know. I'm
just for goofing off on.
This is our private Brandon bashing. In fact, on the thumbnail for this, I just asked Brandon, how do you take a screenshot on Windows? Because I just knew it would get everyone to have a great smile for the thumbnail. Anyway, let's fire on. Are you ready? It's you next, Voja. Okay, so I'm gonna pop you up.
I can be. Don't pop me off, dude. I still have much to live for. Sorry, I'm in a good mood. It's Sunday. It's been a long day and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, everybody is gonna be. So the scenario was what? There was I lost all my devices and I need an e-ink device, and everybody's gonna say like, oh well, Voja's gonna buy the Supernote, right? Let me move my laptop a little bit here. So Voja's gonna buy a Supernote. Well. No, actually, if I were to buy a device today under that scenario and I had to buy one today, I was thinking about it and my gut was like, well, that's what I use, so that's what I would buy, right? Actually, I wouldn't. And the reason is one of the questions that was mentioned before, and that was, is the budget a concern? Yes, it is. And when you're buying a Supernote, the budget is a concern, because if you're buying it from Europe or you need to kind of import it into Canada, US, doesn't matter. You have import fees, you have all these things, and it adds up to roughly around $600-ish, something like that. Depends what your import tax are and things like that. So that was my first consideration. It was like a lot of money, so I have to really think about that. And then what do I have to think about? Well, we know that they've announced that maybe the X2 is coming right around the corner. So right at that point, then this is like a big question mark for me, because what if I, blow 650 bucks now, and there's an X2 that will have, they said, replaceable batteries, which is something that I'm very strongly for. And thankfully in Europe, they're finally adding, the considerations that all new electronic devices will have to have replaceable batteries. Hooray for that. So it's very nice to actually see this. So that's a big question mark for me. All right, so if that's not a thing, then I was thinking like, okay, then, well, the next logical thing would be the Tab Ultra of some sort, correct? Well, no, because this is my own personal Tab Ultra, not Tab Ultra C. This is the Tab Ultra that I bought, that I still think is a phenomenal device, but I actually regret this purchase. And I regret that I sold my Note Air 2 when I bought this device. Since I bought it, I don't like it. I'm not vibing with it at all. Tab Ultra C, different beast altogether for me, because of these ton of little small things kind of add up to one big thing that makes a difference to me, and I could connect it.
What are those specific irritants, just for the audience?
Specific irritants. It has zero personality. That's my subjective thing. So absolutely zero personality. So what is this? This is an absolutely excellent tool, and that's a tablet that's using top of the cream e-ink technology that we currently have. Absolutely 100% agree with. Cannot disagree with that, because that's a fact. So if you want the best tablet with the best that e-ink technology has to offer, it has to be the Tab Ultra or the Tab Ultra C. That's just how it is. I'm not blind to that, but this is a subjective thing, right? And there's a plushie there on the guitar, and there's like plushies all around, and there's like toys all around, and I need a connection with the thing. Otherwise, it's just a thing. And if I'm interacting, so with the Note Air 2, I had that. It had charisma, it had character, had an orange stripe, it had a sexy design. I enjoyed holding it in my hand even after 2 years. That's something remarkable too, has in spades. Like, it has bucket loads. It's like, oh my God, it all sucks, but you just hold it and it's like, oh yes, my precious. So I get zero of that with the Tab Ultra or the Tab Ultra C. Subjective. Objective part, camera bump, can't get over the camera bump, and I cannot get over the sharp edges of the bucket. That objectively bothers me. So the end result is, like, I sold my Note Air 2 because I bought this thing and I'm not even using it. So that's like double the reason to hate it. So nope.
You want me to send you my Note Air 2, Voja?
Sorry?
You want me to send you my Note Air 2?
Yeah. So I was then thinking, like, okay, so then why not buy Note Air 2 Plus or something like that? Because that's the obvious choice. Well, it's October, and traditionally Books launches new stuff in October. So again, I have that problem. So why would I spend, even though Note Air 2 Plus is now like 420, something like that, right?
Look it up.
So why would I?
Market doing? Is there a used market for that device? Like, I haven't even looked.
There's some used markets, and that was my train of thought as well. So then I was thinking, like, okay, so what would I buy now when I'm waiting for all of these new things that are probably going to come out? And I don't know what's going to come out. I don't know when new Supernote is going to come out. I don't know what Books is going to come up with. Maybe they come up with something, to appease my Note Air loving heart. I have no idea. So, but I need something to write. And this is what I would buy. If this was the case, that's exactly what I would buy. Because this is Remarkable One, for those who don't know, my original one from 2017. Why I would buy this? Because you can find one in an excellent state for about 100 and 110 bucks. There's tons of them. And I primarily write And that's what I would need the device for. So I can definitely appreciate everything that this device has to bring if it costs $110. If it does, I'm a happy puppy. Yeah, it's not a good reader. Yeah, it's not this, it's not that. But you know what? For $110 or around, I've seen some even go a little bit cheaper when they go without a pen or something like that. As long as they're like fine, that's actually what I would go in this situation, so that I can see what is books gonna do. What are all of them going to do? To see where we're at with the prices. How are the new launches going to affect the prices of the old devices? Are they going to affect them at all? For me, it was simply a way too many question marks in this situation. Now, if we were to do this same stream in November, that would be a very different story, right? Then this wouldn't be the choice if it was the November. So if it was November and say that Supernote said, hey, we're not launching anything new, or X2 is, I don't know, we're not launching until end of 2024 like they did for A4X, then it would be the Supernote A5X, right? So I just wanted to kind
You
of
gotta
go through.
pick. You gotta make a final answer.
I gotta make a final answer. If it is, if it's
right
for
now.
today, for right now,
Or your answer
this
wait
is
till
actually
November.
this for today, you know, end of September, and the way it is right now, and I have to go and buy a device and I don't have any e-ink, this is what I actually would go for.
Yeah, interesting.
So
fascinating. It's the first one I bought, and I bought it when we were waiting for the Remarkable 2, and they were just doing such good deals on it. And you're absolutely right, it is still killer. I've actually given mine now to my brother, and he uses it, and he's very happy with it. And
yeah,
you know, it's a testament that it is still going. I really liked the buttons on the bottom as well. It's something I really enjoyed. I liked how light it was.
It's plastic. It's way durable than the Remarkable 2.
Way
much lighter, and you can chuck it. It's fine. It's not going to break. The power button's
really
not going to stuck.
I really wish they'd make a student Remarkable. I wish they'd had two, and they make that basically, and make it cheaper. You know, less RAM, less, because it's 512 gigabytes of RAM. Is that right? Is it, if I remember correctly, or is it 1? But it's not a lot.
512.
Yeah,
512 of RAM, 1 core.
Yeah, and it's 1 core. Processor.
1 core.
Yeah, and it's still
But
works.
do you feel any of that? Do you feel any of that when you're
You do comparatively, like you put it side by side, you will.
Yeah.
But for what you know, and I think Voja's use case very much, it can never do what the Tab Odyssey can do. Of course, it can't. The software couldn't, but you couldn't use it on there to, you know, you couldn't put Google Play Store on there with that kind of things.
Until November, though.
Exactly. But I think the really interesting point is the used market or the refurbished market is actually a place to find value. And I often think with people, the question, and when I was buying this thing, I was thinking, is it what it says it's going to be? Is it what the marketing says it's going to be? And I think sometimes, you know, I was looking for just this hyped up feel that Remarkable was selling to everyone, you know, this pen and paper feel, and the kind of the way it would just get out of your way. And I remember trying it for the first time thinking, yeah, I like this. This is what I wanted it to be. And I think, you know, it's a used device is a very valid option, essentially.
It's an important consideration, at least, to kind of keep it in consideration, because these are expensive devices. I mean, yes, we're talking like, you get a huge amount of value for 400 and something bucks with Books Note Air 2 Plus or something like that. I'm sorry, Brandon, I can't go with Remarkable 2 as a value thing because of this. Because this does exactly all of the same things that the Remarkable 2 does. It's the same operational software. It doesn't have the type folio, granted, you don't have that. But I can't say that Remarkable 2 is a good value. It's too fragile. Yes, it's unbelievably sexy, and the design, I think, is a testament that this thing, if it came out today, like if it came out in September of 2023, and it came out looking like this, I would still go like, oh wow, this is awesome. But this came like 3 years ago, and it's still this good. And I think that Remarkable's hardware design team is one of the best that I've seen, probably on the market. And they've kind of confirmed that when they launched the Folio. Yeah, Folio has its ups and downs, and yes, stitching should have been there. Better materials should have been used for the covering. But the engineering of it, the design of it, that it's covered, that it's still a flipable cover, and then when you need it, you just lift it. Oh, it's so tasty. And they've done it like again, so that it's really that good. So in some ways, I really wish if Remarkable would release something new, right? Like a Remarkable 3 or something like that. That would have been a nice thing, because I'm genuinely excited about their hardware design, engineering team and capabilities. Business-wise and things like that, yeah, some things are good, some things I'm really disagreeing with. It's not going to be a device for everyone, so yeah, it really depends. But for me, why is this a choice? I think I explained it. Second market value, time in the year where we are at now, and again, for me primarily, I write a ton, so I can read my PDFs and things on my PC until January, until I see what the prices are, or until Black Friday, and then I see what the prices are, and I need something to kind of bridge me until I make a decision. But I can't do the writing that I can do on a Remarkable 1 or a Remarkable 2. I can't do that on a PC. I can't do that on my Lenovo tablet. I can't do that on my iPad or whatever. And there was a question, how about buying a Kindle Scribe just for writing? I wouldn't. Now, hear me out why. I think Kindle Scribe looks great, built fantastic display, fantastic front light, fantastic pen. Like, that's my favorite pen. That's the pen that I use all the time now. And writing feel is fantastic. So what's wrong with it? How do you get the files off from that tablet?
You mean all the software?
All of it.
It's Jekyll and Hyde.
Entire
hardware,
yes,
software.
Yeah.
Like, it's completely mind-boggling for me that you have, on one hand, probably the most capable writer on the market, hardware-wise. Like, it's really hard to beat. 300 ppi, black and white, like, everything's spot on. It's perfect. But if you need to take the stuff off,
Yeah. And the cloud is
little things add up.
Yeah, that's why it's not.
That prevents you from using it more than you otherwise would. Go ahead, Voja.
No, that's exactly it. That I'm just reacting to what you said. So it's that's exactly the thing that that also has to be. I have to account those things into the price consideration as well, right? So it's not, and even if I had like an unlimited budget, I'm a price conscientious oriented person. So I like that if I purchase something, that I'm not going to chuck it and contribute to the e-waste that is a problem. I like to buy something that's going to last for years and that I can actually use and come back, and use it. And that's why Tab Ultra C pisses me off, because it was a lot of money. It's e-waste and I don't get to use it. And I sold my device that I used to use, and I would have gotten a third year.
We'll hand it to you.
Thank you. So yeah, that's where I'm at as far as this goes. Any questions or comments from you guys or whatever, or questions that you saw maybe that popped up in there?
I think we hit a lot of them as we go.
Yeah.
I agree with
All
Carl.
Right, then cool.
Awesome. I think this has been absolutely fascinating, Brandon. I think we're gonna get in with yours because
Mine's going to be way quicker. We don't get the
No, you don't have
full
to be
soap
quicker.
opera. I'm not going to have this build up.
Right.
I'm sorry, I can't do what Voja did. Voja is too good. But I guess it's probably worthwhile to talk about where we started, which I think you guys both said Remarkable 1 was where you started.
Yeah.
I started with the Note Air 2 Plus, and it blew my mind. It was just fantastic. It was a whole new world. It took me from a Moleskine into the e-ink world, and it's just been excellent. But my use case is one that rewards focus and creativity. And my primary goal is digital sketching and note-taking. And I need a way to effortlessly share what I'm sketching in real time and immediately share it afterwards with the team. And so for me, it's the Remarkable 2. It does the best job of giving me that creative space and getting out of my way. It also has the most painless screen sharing and export that's baked directly into the platform. And lastly, it's the only e-ink platform that has proper vertical scrolling that allows me to complete my thought on a single page instead of artificially being limited to a specific page height. So no, it's not the value king that the Remarkable 1 is, but in my space, I mean, I spent $500 on a Note Air 2, and then I bought a Remarkable 2 just to review it, and then I ended up keeping it. I fully intended to send this back after I did my review, and the experience of actually using it and the focus that it enabled me to have that I couldn't get on the Books writing app is what kept me in the Remarkable space. So I think the Remarkable 2 is an excellent value. Again, not as great as the Remarkable 1, but I think if you can get a refurb and you can get a referral discount, and then you add to that a third-party stylus, I think it's what, $280 US for a refurb with a referral. And then you can get a stylus for as cheap as 30 bucks. So you're a little over 300 bucks new-ish. Again, I know Remarkable gets a rap for being expensive, but that's not terrible for new-ish.
So what if you don't want to then sign into the cloud, which is, it's not too expensive now, but it's still a consideration. What do you not get? Remind me.
So I guess let's start there, because actually that was a key factor that brought me to the Note Air 2 Plus. Is back when I purchased a Note Air 2 Plus, I want to say Connect was $8 a month US.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And you needed it to get screen share, and you needed it to do handwriting conversion. And I was like, I don't want a monthly bill. So I was like, Remarkable is out. And that's why I went with the Note Air 2 Plus. That, along with having a backlight and having Kindle support, because I've been using Kindle books for forever. That all changed in September of 2022, where the Connect membership is now $3 US, and you no longer need it for screen sharing, and you no longer need it for handwriting conversion or cloud. So in my opinion, right now that $3 a month gets you backup protection if you were to slam this against the wall and it couldn't be recovered. Like, that's what I pay $3 a month for, is so that if this got stepped on by my 10-year-old, I could buy another one, log in, and within whatever the shipping time is, be back up and running. So that's what I pay $3 a month for. But I mean, I guess I'm curious, Voja and Kit, what your thoughts are on typing on the Remarkable. Because I know where I'm at.
I was about to ask that question. Like, in this purchase, would you include buying the type folio?
I think the type folio is very use case dependent. I think if you are a writer by profession, or you have some benefit of getting away from your computer or getting away from your default workspace, then I think the type folio does that best of any of the e-ink tablets. I think if I want to go to a coffee shop because that puts me in the right mindset to write creative work, I think that works. Is it just being a productivity tool or an alternative to a computer? I don't know that it works, but if I were a writer and I made a living writing, or I wanted to make a living writing and I needed to get into a very specific headspace, then I think it's worth it. If I don't fit into that small use case, I have a hard time justifying it.
I had a go with it, and I found this really annoying bug, which was from the cloud service, which actually Remarkable's cloud apps, the three of them, the web app and the mobile app and the desktop app, they're actually quite good and they work together well with the cloud. You pulled off some text and every single line break, it had a weird funny symbol when you copied it into Word.
Oh, I hate that so much. Yeah, so I think I mentioned this in my review is I shouldn't have to be a software engineer to be able to get documents off of it.
But then
to find replace of that character. It's just
I tried it recently and it's gone. So that's
they fixed it. Okay.
Yeah, I think in an update they've just fixed that out, which is just like one of those sort of no-brainers, really. And I think that I should now. I want to give it a second go, really. And there is that kind of romantic kind of, you could do handwriting conversion, and then your first few scribbles handwriting, that could be your outline that you handwrite. Then you open up the thing and you start typing, and then you can annotate, and then you can reconvert, and there are workflows with it. I just think if I was a writer, which I do consider myself to be a writer, is what I do when I make a review, I write it first, and then to be able to put that straight into Google Docs or Word or my knowledge management app, then that is, I think that's what leans me towards there. And I think there is always that step of you're gonna have to copy and paste out of Remarkable at some point. Whereas it's there in whatever you're going to use to take it. You're writing from you to the publishers, from you to wherever else it needs to go. And that's the step that I would find jarring, really, with Remarkable.
So that's a really good point. I saw this comment. I think this is a worthwhile one to call out. Someone asked, do I still incorporate Typefolio into my day-to-day workflow? And the answer has a lot to do with this, which is I have a keyboard that I use every day. And I find that any keyboard that's not this keyboard or one like it makes it really distracting to do in-depth writing, the kind of writing that I think Kit's referring to, and the kind of writing I think of when I think about a creative writer or a professional writer. I don't want to think about this. I don't even want to think about that screen. I just want to be in my own head. And so for me, I think the Typefolio is the least distracting of all of them. But with that said, it's still a minor distraction. And so I have a lot of quirkiness built into my keyboard. So I have escape here, and I can hold it to get a hyper key. And I can hold these two keys to go up and down. And I can't do any of that on the Remarkable, and I can't do any of that on the books. And so what happens is my muscle memory kicks in, and then it types all kinds of weird characters, and then I'm completely out of my thought process. And so for that reason, and again, that's a very unique personal thing for me, I don't integrate the Typefolio into my deep concentration type work.
Cool. Thoughts from other people? This is an interesting point. Marcus seems to point to why that bug was there in the first place. Thank you very much, Marcus. Appreciate that.
Well, so that's interesting. So if it's a Linux versus Windows thing, because like I'm on Mac OS and I got it, and Kit, you're on Windows and you were getting it. So yeah,
Remarkable is Linux. Remarkable's OS is Linux based. So character conversion is, that's what actually happens.
Yeah, is anyone here a Linux main, and do they run into that?
Anyway, let's go down the comments. Yeah, there.
Really, I really like this comment, by the way. Who are the non-Voja people? It's a good, name them all.
Seriously. Kit and Brandon, yes, they have channels and they do really excellent work, and you should definitely check their work because they do different perspectives and they cover all of these things from a different perspective. And I do encourage that you definitely learn their names and visit their channels and subscribe and check their work because they do excellent work.
And also the opposite, when I don't feel like testing something, I say, go check out Voja's video where he goes way more in depth than I did.
Yeah, awesome. Any more questions for Brandon about his choice here? There's some really good ones that I think we'll come back to towards the end because they're sort of specific other use cases, really. This one you might actually like to field, Brandon, because you're an iPad user as well, I believe, or have been.
Yeah. Can you put that back up? I didn't get to read it all. I know you're more into e-ink devices, but if distraction's not a concern, what's your... Oh, okay. I have a video on this. It's only 2 minutes long. I definitely recommend you go check it out. It's iPad Pro specifically versus Remarkable 2 and how you can decide. And on the surface, they are both tablets, but I don't think they could be more different as far as how you use them. And so the TLDR of that video is I feel like the iPad can do infinite amounts of things, but is second class at all but a few of those.
Yeah.
And I feel like the Remarkable or even the other e-ink tablets have a legitimate use case and they're world class at what they do.
Yeah.
And so if you need a writing tablet, go e-ink. If you want a computer replacement that has even more utility, but is never going to be the best device at any of those use cases, then go with the iPad.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's sort of where my conclusion about the thing was. Well, it's that if you want one device, full stop, then iPad is the choice.
Yeah,
I still think that if you have no other, you just want one computing device in your world, I think that's probably the choice there. Awesome.
I'm old school. It's a laptop for me.
Yeah. I mean, that's where I'm at too. I'm willing to give up touch to have.
Yeah, I don't.
What I mean is, it's
one computing device,
but it's a Mac. Yeah. It's a master of none. Awesome. I think that's all the ones for the. How long does the tip last on the Remarkable? Brandon,
depends how long and how hard you press. Yeah. And how much you write.
That's a really tough question to answer. I mean, again, it's very personal. I think I've gone through 3 Remarkable tips in a year and a half. And I know people who go through a Remarkable tip in a week. So it's very much based on your writing mechanics, and as much grief as I get from people in comments about my weird writing mechanics, I don't go through a lot of nibs.
Interesting.
No, and cool. There's also one consideration. I've also encountered that people on the Facebook group for Remarkable, they change their nibs when they are no longer aesthetically pleasing. There's that as well, because they do flatten out like a little mushroom thing as you start writing. So yeah, generally they start looking ugly, and they start feeling bad because the precision is gone, because you no longer have that nice rounded tip. So yes, the writing definitely changes, but you can definitely use it for months and months. And there's a little tip, and I'm probably sure that all of Remarkable users know that, but when your tip on any device that uses these nibs, softer nibs, felt nibs, when it mushrooms out and creates that conical thing, take a nail file, just round around, it takes it off, and you're good to go, and you can just continue using it nicely.
Yeah, so they can last, and you get a pack of 8, is that right? Maybe 10?
Yeah.
And
9 plus 1, I think. So yeah, 10 together.
Yeah.
And so you that is good for some time, really. Good. Shall we go on with what we wouldn't buy then? Yeah, I think that's as well. And fire on in the same order. Is everyone happy with that?
Let's do it.
I'm kind of predicting there's going to be some. I don't know. I'm just like throwing it out there. I think that there's going to be some matchups here, but we'll see.
Ooh, okay.
Maybe.
Okay, so I'll go first. And what wouldn't I buy? And it's out of the popular ones. So again, we didn't really specify what those popular ones were for the purpose of this. Maybe we should have.
You're saying the big 4. So Kindle, Scribe, something from Books, something from Remarkable, something from Supernote. Are those the 4 you were picking from?
No, it wasn't. I was.
No, I was picking everything.
I was going for bigger. That's fine. I was going for bigger brands. And this is the one I think that should have been so much better. You probably saw this one coming, everyone. I wouldn't buy this one unless I was a reviewer and wanted to review it. And I think this is a bit of a shocker. It just should have been better from them, really, and it's that's the surprise, really. I think there's an absolute lack of any kind of coherent software strategy on this. I think the screen performance is pretty poor, really. You got the options. I can't see much difference between them in terms of how it actually performs. And I think the things like rotating PDFs not rotating the actual annotations. That's the thing that really has got me out of, well, I've never been in love with this device, but any type of positive feeling about this device. I don't know if you saw that. I've actually been trying to do the other really annoying thing is, well, it did a cardinal sin, actually. It forgot one of my PDF planners. It's just gone. It didn't, not in the 2 weeks that I was using it. It's gone from the whole device and I cannot find it. So I've just tried to download I managed to download my PDF planner. Here it is. When I click open it from download, it asks me if I want to open it with ebook reader, but not the actual PDF reader on the device. So the ebook reader is the ebook store they seem to have partnered with. And so you open this. Oh, it doesn't work at all. It did work a moment ago. So
good demonstration.
Now I can buy a James Joyce, which I've read and it's good. But moving on. And this is what I got. So I can't annotate on it now. And I unboxed this in a live stream and got it going. Somebody said you need to put it into the library file. Now where on earth is the library file? So I need to move this PDF. Use the move to, and I need to put it into a library folder. Where's the library folder? And here's where I need to
user. You need the number. Yeah. The first folder. The first folder with the numbers, I think.
With the numbers. No way.
Yeah, with the numbers, and then you're gonna find the
device doesn't
there it is. With there.
There you go.
Moved
yeah,
here.
There
it is.
So it's like a pirate treasure seeker thing.
Yeah, I know it was in there, right? But now I can now go back to the top of my device. However, you can do that. Here. Now I can go into my library.
2023, right?
It's not there.
Nope.
It's not even there. And I do despair. So, but I can show you what I mean with this, because I can make an annotation on this part of the screen. Now I am in their reader, which is, the most simple thing. I haven't got access to all the pen choices that they had in their notes. I can make an annotation on here. Fine. I'll write my name so that we can see that now when I use the auto rotate on the device, the PDF rotates, but not the note. Now, this is, you have to laugh because otherwise you'd cry. And if you bought this, what on earth, guys? And this is the thing, this should have been so much better. It just shows you how little Lenovo love this device, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And, it's a weird one.
Isn't it a glorified beta? This, as far as I know, this device is still not in the US.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not. I don't think so. Yeah. I don't think it's going to get
so why
there.
Is it in Europe and why is it this bad? It really is. So actually,
that would be the key question. Why is it this bad?
Yeah.
Why is it bad? But why is it
this bad? Come on, guys. That's really, and I know how to use tech, and it's an Android device, and I can navigate around, and I can work that out eventually. But some people, they're looking for, and they're trying to market this as a similar thing as the Remarkable, user friendly, and you can write on it. It just really doesn't know what it wants to be yet, and it should have been better at launch. It really should. I even read a review recently. I won't call out who they were, but one of the pros was a well thought through software experience. And I just think you should be careful.
Well thought through but poorly executed?
No,
No,
not even.
It just
maybe there was a ... to the quote,
Yeah. And then Google Drive, all right, granted I have the 200 gigabytes storage in Google Drive, so it's quite a lot to refresh, but it just doesn't ever it takes 10 minutes and then it will crash again. So they thought through, people like to use Google Drive, but it's just not working, and it's awful. I'm still in shock.
Yeah, it is shocking. It is.
It is shockingly bad.
I didn't have to review it then, because
it's still refreshing. Maybe I should send you mine to have a look. It's still refreshing. It's not refreshing at all. It's downright infuriating. The other thing that the other thing I'm surprised about is in the FAQs it says, "Can you install apps?" You can via APKs, and we've talked about APKs, and there are dangers there, absolutely. But I've shown that you can put Kindle on here, and it does work. But you won't get any Kindle updates because they would be managed by the Google Play Store. So you'd have to download a new version. But Kindle works on here, and I'm logged in. Here are my books. Fine. For example, so you can download pretty much whatever you like. You can look at CPU-Z, which was another thing that shocked me, and I'm really interested in your opinions on this, guys. But in the FAQs, it said, can you install apps? The answer was no, you cannot. And I'm paraphrasing, but this is the gist. It's a device for reading and taking notes. Okay. Yet, by default, they put Firefox on, and they put WPS Office on there, which, hands up in the chat if you're a WPS Office user. Maybe there are some people out there, but I don't think there are many of us. It's forgotten that one. That one's
crickets.
And so they put that on there with a PDF reader, a Word clone, and a PowerPoint clone, and an Excel sheet. So clearly it isn't designed just for reading and writing if you put WPS Office on it, right? And then there's the whole, and Voja's review covers this brilliantly, the whole subscription plans for things like voice to text.
Cherry on top.
Oh, it's just, and for cloud storage, which, Books gives you 10 gigabytes just for free for every account you make, and I guess they must have a way to stop people just spamming accounts. But anyway, the hardware is quite nice, and the screen feel is nice, and generally the note-taking app is nice. The pencil tool is really quite good, really quite good. This is the standout feature of the device for me, is the actual pencil with tilt tool. Is
the pencil better than the Scribe pencil?
No, the actual pencil. No. You mean?
No, the brush.
I think it would be a toss up. I think probably. In my opinion,
I think the Scribe has the best pencil.
Yeah. I think the Scribe.
I second that.
Yeah. Just generally the tools are okay. I know when you first looked at this, it looked very much like a Remarkable set of tools, and they've changed it to make it look like a kid's set of tools for some reason. But there's no.
There's some positioning. This is what it's capable of right now. It's a great
it's for reading and writing on, and this pen doesn't annoy me because it's too thin and it's quite solid. There's no, and so actually for long periods of writing, it actually hurts your hand. The way cheap biros, you get that indentation. That gets me. I don't enjoy that at all. I like the storage of it. I like the case. I like generally the actual hardware. It's quite nice and light. It's got a good battery life. It does have a good screen. It does have the auto dimming light, but it doesn't do it in the right way, in my opinion, because when it's brighter, it sometimes gets brighter. And I just don't think the algorithm's right what they've plugged in there. It seems to me that when they've just left it almost like a ordinary Android, get really bright when it's sunny and bright and the lights go up. And then, but you did show on yours, Voja, that it actually did turn off when it was super bright. But I think it might.
Did they really do that?
Yeah, I think it might just be the placement of the thing, because there's light sensors down here somewhere.
There's two of them on the side.
Right, there's one at the top and one at the bottom.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had it near an open window, really bright, and it got super bright. And I was like, what are you doing? This is e-ink. This is precisely when I don't need this. And just generally, it's just not where the auto-dimming sensors that we've seen on some other documents, like the Palmer's got it absolutely right. The last thing I'll say before I stop my rant, frankly, is
no, get it all out.
Thanks.
You clearly need
a safe space, except for everyone's here.
Yeah,
but if the processor that CPU-Z, now I wonder whether CPU-Z isn't reporting this accurately, is the RK3066. Now this chip is 10 years old or more. Actually, I think it's 2012. Now, if that is accurate, which on the list of specifications it's not, it's like the 3085 or something. I've covered it in a video somewhere, but if that's accurate, this was in one of the first Fire HD tablets. That's the level of tech we're talking about.
It's kind of wild to think about because it says 40 nanometer there.
Oh, yeah.
And that's just wild.
But you should be kind of careful with CPU-Z because depends which version of the APK you manage to find. Its database. Yeah.
That's a good
so
question.
CPU-Z internally has a database that can recognize new chips And if it is an A55 family that's a newer one and it doesn't have it in a database, it's just
It'll
going to
just go
tell
to the
you,
old one.
well, that's probably
Yeah.
this one. So I don't know for certain that
That could
that's
well be
that.
it. I'm
So
hoping that
if
it
the
is.
device,
Because,
yeah, if the
Yeah.
device was a Google Play Store, then you would know which CPUs you get and that you get the current database. But because you had to sideload it, that's also something to
It
keep in
says
mind.
2023 at the
23.
bottom.
Copyright 2023. I can look.
Yeah.
I'll look now.
Then
What
then
version.
definitely then that's a high possibility that it has that ancient SoC on it.
Oh my word! So what are they playing at? This is Lenovo, and if you know the other thing is it's. I just don't think they've analysed their competition. I don't think they've done enough market research, enough development, and it just doesn't give me any confidence for the other like quite compelling ideas that they're doing with e-ink. You know, like a lot of people are looking at, oh, it's a dual screen laptop with the twist, or it's the one with the screen on the side, and you know, there's actually some nice ideas there. I like I like the idea of me constantly having to be able to switch to an e-ink to enjoy typing on e-ink, but I'm just not convinced if this is what they're doing with e-ink and this is their level of software development and how much love they put into the device. I'm just not not convinced that they'll have done anywhere near the level that necessary to get a good experience of one of those laptops. Yeah.
I'll just throw something in here. I'm a big Lenovo fan. I'm currently working with my Lenovo Legion. This is where we're streaming. That's what I'm using for streaming. That's my main laptop now for years. And my regular Android tablet is also a Lenovo tablet, and I love it. Here's a key bit of difference why these two Lenovo devices really work. They do not require from Lenovo to develop and design and engineer their own software. So my laptop is running a Windows PC. That's a story in its own, but it's not Lenovo's. My Lenovo tablet is running an Android underneath it that just has maybe a couple of things that are done by Lenovo, and they're the shoddy element of the tablet. This
at their heart,
is
Lenovo
running
is a hardware company, and
exactly. And this is what's the problem here. They do not have a department, and they do not have experience to actually design, to create a concept and bring it to a reality of this. So what I think happened here was they said, hey, Remarkable 2 is small. Remarkable is a small company, right? But they're doing really well. So let's just take what they've done, put it in there. How hard can it be? Famous last words.
It's hard.
How hard can it be? You have to have an interest. And for me, this is a brilliant example that you actually showed, Kit, because I would definitely add that on top because that's so bad that I didn't even consider it. That's like not even in a competition.
What, the rotation thing? Or?
No, the device.
Lenovo
Smart paper.
Oh yeah.
That's not even a consideration because it's not complete. That's not finished.
Yeah, it's not complete.
Hardware is fantastic.
Yeah. Incidentally, this is the latest version of CPU Droid. CPU Z.
Then maybe they have the 40 nanometers.
So they've told me a 40 nanometer chip from
Yeah. That's insane.
Incidentally, just really quickly on chips. I've been looking at some devices that have got the MediaTek G99, and they're all running the Android 13, and they're all very affordable. So I'm wondering whether the MediaTek G99 is something that the e-ink boys should look at, because I think there's the chips that's keeping, and if they're bringing up chips from 2012, honestly, if you're in the audience and you want to laugh, look up the other devices that run the rock chip RK3066.
Well, so I guess
classic tech.
To pull at threads here, I mean, this product was probably being designed in the middle of COVID, and I wonder if supply chain affected their decisions on it.
But then don't sell it and don't list it as.
I totally agree. I'm just saying
that's
probably how we end up in part of this situation.
Yeah. Sorry.
Kind of glad they didn't bring it.
Now I'm
good comments from the audience. Let's have a little look in. Let's take this device off the offending. Let's have a little look.
Good Lord, that was rough, man. But honest and fair, I think.
Yeah, look at this. Yeah, and the battery life is quite good, Luke. Yeah, so it's interesting, isn't it? But 40 nanometer, when I saw that number, I was like, gosh, that's crazy, right?
It's old.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, and yeah, this is they have been dabbling in an e-ink.
They've been dabbling in placing e-ink screens on Windows machines. Like that we have to make that differentiation, because as Brandon said, Lenovo is a hardware company at heart, and they do that really well. And Smart Paper shows that as well. It's really good hardware. But the software part just shows that it's like, okay, if a student brought me this as their final work, how would you grade it? Kit, what would be the grade?
I would just say, please try harder. This is my favorite bit
No,
of feedback. But
yeah, no.
Well,
This is
even
the
a C,
final
is it?
delivery.
It's not
F to A.
It's not even a C.
It's like, can you give it an incomplete?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So
the one thing they got right,
I
they got this lock screen right. This default lock screen is very attractive. That's it.
At least there's that.
Yeah, it is. It's quite nice. It's very nice.
It shows off e-ink the way that the way the tones roll off. It really does show ink off it.
Kit, what's the pixel density on it? I don't remember.
It's the old
227.
227. Yeah, it's the last version. Yeah. So it's not. Yeah, they haven't got the latest Kindle thing.
No.
Yeah, interesting. People are still in shock, so we should move on. We're gonna have to give them some other good news.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. If we're going in order, then Brandon, you're up next.
We switched up our order, but that's fine.
We switched it. Well, StreamYard has. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So as much as I hate on the Kindle Scribe, it's not going to be my not buy for today. And I think I'm probably going to surprise some people. I'm probably going to upset some people. And to those people, I'm sorry. But super note. I know. It pains me to say this. And this is completely a personal preference thing. The Supernote is not a bad device. Quite the opposite. I actually think it's an amazing device that is both practical and has an amazing design philosophy and software. But the sad thing is it is not compatible with how I write. And so every time I use it, I bog down the pen and it's distracting. And so as much as I'd like to say the Kindle Scribe is not the device I would buy, I actually prefer writing on the Kindle Scribe as long as I don't have to manage notebooks or get items off or get items on. But again, completely personal. I'm not saying don't buy the Supernote, because I think for people who can live with how it writes, and I'm curious y'all's take on this once I'm done with this. I can't deal with how it writes. I love the software. I love their upgrade philosophy. I love the team. And I love how they've improved it a ton since it first came out. But from a completely personal preference standpoint, I have a hard time justifying buying the Supernote for myself.
But I'm curious, like, what about the how it writes? What aspect of it is it that doesn't suit you?
Yeah, so I mean, it's the fact that the screen gives so much that when I'm writing quickly, I get inconsistent response from it. So at different points in my stroke, the pen bogs down differently, and it just throws me off. I think it ultimately comes down to...
Oh, you mean the friction, the physical friction between the pen? Ah, okay,
Yes.
now I get it.
Yes. So
I kind of like it that it's almost like the way a ballpoint works, and you do get these kind of like little...
Again, it's completely personal. I'm not knocking. Like, I love that they went all in on that feel. Like, I commend that. They said, this is our user, and this is not our user. And I just happen to be the not user. So I prefer the pencil and paper feel. And again, I'm sketching. So I want that response. I want there to feel like a lot of friction, but not a reduction in speed. So I want to be able to do a quick stroke and get even consistent response from the screen. So again, this is not a general statement about whether you should buy the Supernote. It just happens to be my personal relationship with it.
Fascinating. Questions from you guys. I mean,
very surprising.
There's a lot of people who said the software is the weakness. So how about that? Because we would
software is the
say,
weakness on the Supernote.
yeah, we would say, well, things like the linking, the tables of contents, did that not rescue it for you? Or have you not tried using other pens and nibs on the?
I've tried loads. So I love the Heart of Metal pen.
Yeah.
I think it's an amazing design. It's just I have a hard time with it. And then all the pens that I do like bog down even worse on it.
Right.
So like, for instance, the Kaweco, people
Yeah.
are like, I saw your Kaweco review and I want that pen, and I'm on Supernote. I'm like, do not buy that pen for
Right.
Supernote, because it's just a double whammy. It's soft on soft, and then it feels really dead from a responsiveness perspective. So I think it's one of those things where if you're gonna have a soft surface, a soft screen surface, you need an incredibly rigid nib. And then if you're going to have a soft pen tip, then you want a very rigid screen surface. So for me, that's a Remarkable, which has a very hard screen surface. And then I use the Kaweco, which has a very soft nib, and it balances out.
Yeah.
But no, I love the Supernote software. I thought their 2-finger erase was amazing. I think it's still the best in class. I think Remarkable gets close with the 2-finger tap to undo, but I would still prefer to be able to do the 2-finger erase like I do on the Supernote. Like, I want this on every device. It's amazing.
What about the lack of front light? There's a couple of people asking about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the front light is a big thing. Again, this is why my first purchase was a Note Air 2 Plus, because it had a front light, it could do Kindle. And so I looked at all 3 devices before I chose a first one. And yeah, the lack of front light was the issue with the Supernote, and the lack of front light and the lack of Kindle was the original issue with the Remarkable. At a certain point, I realized I was better off with 2 devices. I can pair a Remarkable 2 with a Kindle Oasis that I already have for nighttime reading, which was the primary place where I needed the backlight. And I can have best of breed writing and focus, and then arguably best of breed reading of Kindle books on a Kindle device.
Interesting. The other thing is, somebody's asked about drawing on the Supernote. That is the one that
it's not for that.
It's not for that, exactly. It is. Their slogan has always been for those who write, and that's the thing.
It doesn't even pretend. Sketching. I mean,
yeah. I think if you're replacing a paper planner, this can replace that the best of all the devices, especially with the linking and the getting around.
Yeah. Or if you're just sick of it having to buy a new bullet journal every month or so, or every quarter, because this can be such a good for journaling. It can be so good if you go all in with it and you build tables of contents, and you link, and it can be a real pleasure to move around and to just to experience the joy of writing on it. And the handwriting recognition is excellent. The screen share is excellent.
Yeah, they added screen sharing, and it is so good.
It is just. I was just wondering, like, when Brendan, you mentioned, like, oh, it's the Remarkable has the best screen share. You still require the app. Here, you don't even need a dedicated app. Everybody has a browser, and then you just type in your IP. And here's the thing. For me, the biggest benefit of the Supernote screen share, a huge benefit over Remarkables, it does not go over anyone's cloud. So your data is self-contained, and you can screen share even while not connected in a LAN environment, which means for those who don't know, it's a local network thing. So it doesn't go over any servers. This is just within your own network. So as far as professional organizations go, Remarkable cannot be used because of the cloud stipulation that most of these services have. It cannot be used in certain professional environments that require and that have security concerns, such as we do not allow any data that is proprietary to go through any third-party servers. And that automatically disqualifies Remarkable for that use case scenario. Not true for the Supernote, for example. So because the Supernote can, if you notice, you have 2 buttons. You don't need to be, you can be hooked up on your Wi-Fi, but you don't have to have access to internet to actually have screen share on that local network.
Ah,
So
right.
your Wi-Fi has to be on. You have to be hooked up to the router, to the network itself, but you don't have to go online.
And I think it
So
turns it on automatically, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, they fixed that. They fixed these things. So they fixed tons of things. But that's one very important consideration that, and books, of course, cannot do any of that.
Although one thing I will say, as much as I do love the SuperNote software, and this may be ignorance on my part, I hate that I have to remember to press sync. This threw me off for so long.
Yeah, I get it.
I just want it to auto sync. I don't want to have to think about it.
But would you want to do that because it's kind of drains your battery and things like that? Or no. As far as that's SuperNote, I think what you need is an option, so that you can turn it on.
And I feel the same way about
on
the
or
Remarkable. There are times when I want the Remarkable to sync, but it only syncs when you close the document. I wish I had a manual sync button.
No, they fixed that. They fixed that with the update 3.5, and now it syncs. Now it syncs while you're in a document. So I was about to ask you, how are you enjoying your improved synchronization with the documents in your desktop app? Because for me, since update 3.6, it's not working. The only way it's working on Remarkable is if you open up the desktop app and the Remarkable at the same time. And on the desktop app, you go out of the folder and then you go back into the folder, and then that sends a ping to the device to start syncing.
That's really what I'm referring to. Is in practice, I find the Remarkable only syncs when you leave the document. And so I wish if I was mid-document, I could open my toolbar and there'd be a sync button in here. Like in this export, why isn't there a sync button?
Yeah.
Like if I'm just trying to pull something off of here to share with a colleague, like if I want to put this in Notion, for example, in to keep forever, like why can't I just say send and then pull that off of the Remarkable app and then drop it into Notion? Why do I have to leave to do that?
That would be a non-distracting functionality that I think would be a very welcome thing to have. No, I'm not. I'm being serious. Come on. I know I've criticized Remarkable, and I try to be very objective about it. But and I know people really, it is a point to make kind of fun, distraction-free and stuff like that. But if that is a genuine focus of the company and over the device, then that's a genuine focus, and I'm gonna respect that. So what you're saying, Brandon, is 110% on point. Because if that's the whole point of the device and the brand and the company, distraction-free, well, then you need to add functionality that is distraction-free. And for me, what Remarkable has been doing right now is a little bit confusing. It's not. It seems like they've gotten themselves distracted.
Exactly. I completely agree with you.
Can we have an answer of this one? So the SuperNote for writing as well as reading. Your choice is Kindle or PDF. It has more options, doesn't it? It has more than just PDF or EPUB. You can read a lot of different file formats on SuperNote.
They've improved it a lot
as a reader, I would say.
I guess what is performance like for you there, Voja? I haven't stress tested it.
Slow.
So
if anything, about
how much slower than Remarkable for PDFs?
It's
on page turn.
Same. So pretty much depends what kind of stuff. No, Remarkable 2 is a little bit faster. I think it's still it feels a little bit faster. I haven't really measured it since the latest updates and things like that. But on the feel alone, I'm pretty sure that's, if there's like one thing about SuperNote, it ain't a fast device. It's gonna get there. Definitely, it's gonna do wonders. But it's not gonna be your most snappiest and most responsive device. And yes, that can piss people off completely justifiably, especially if you dish out 600 and something bucks for it. Then you're gonna be properly pissed off about it. So and if you put that into comparison, you start flipping pages on Tab Ultra C or something like that in balanced mode or fast mode. No, there's only speed mode in the reader. It's like the Tab Ultra C came from another dimension or something. So
it's night and day difference.
Yeah.
And how about this one? I think just as a final one on this one, perhaps. Yeah, very important use case for you, Brandon. I think, isn't it?
Honestly, I think all e-ink tablets kind of suck at this use case.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. So, I
Well,
mean,
I'd
there's
say
always going to
apart
be.
from the full Androids with Google Play, because you can just use the knowledge management there.
I don't personally find that. So my use case is Obsidian. I don't personally find the mobile apps for Obsidian to be all that helpful on e-ink tablets. And so this
But is
ultimately
that the app or is that the ink tablet?
both.
Hmm.
I mean, this all becomes a logistical question of how easy is it to get content off of the device. So it's going to come down to handwriting conversion quality, handwriting conversion speed, and just friction in that process for me. Voya, you look like you had something.
Well, for me, I think that the important point about Supernote, and again, advantage here is, of course, if you need it like to seamlessly integrate into a third-party app like Obsidian, well, that ain't gonna happen because it doesn't support Obsidian. That's about it. But if you do have a workflow that includes incorporating PDF files into your third-party app or whatever, then the Supernote can actually handle that really well, because you are not required to use the main point of synchronization. Doesn't have to be Supernote Cloud. It can be your Google Drive. It can be your Dropbox. And I think OneDrive is coming, or not yet, or maybe it's already there. But let's say that I'm using Google Drive. I'm in the Google Drive. So what I use is my Supernote synchronizes with my Google Drive. So when I press that sync button, and it's done with synchronizing, all of my stuff is on my Google Drive. And
this is a really
from
good
there
point.
on, you just
So,
take it off.
Yeah, so the text-driven notebooks in Supernote, I think, are amazing, where they're actually doing the text conversion in the background. So I guess the one thing that's missing, I love their integration to Google. The biggest issue I had was it just didn't connect for the first like 2 months while it was in beta. But since it came out of beta, I haven't had any issues with it. I think it's really good. But Voya, are you able to get the text out automatically, or are you just getting the Note PDF out?
I just get Note PDFs. I really don't use the handwriting
So
conversion.
I think this is something that's potentially interesting, is if you have a text-based notebook, if you could have that also synced. And if that's the case, then that's something that actually reduces the friction to integrate with personal knowledge management software. If I can write on the Supernote, that stuff just gets deposited into my Google Cloud, maybe in a different folder, and then I can just go pull that text. That that's something that none of the other devices are doing right now.
I might be mistaken, but I think that I might have read on their roadmap that they are actually working on something like that. That there would be a parallel exporting of that. I'm not sure if I've dreamed it, because I dream of Supernote updates. No, figuratively speaking, dreamed it. If something that I constructed in my brain, or is it something that I actually read? So I will have to double check that roadmap. But I wouldn't be surprised, and it wouldn't be the first time that it happens, that, for example, us three are actually talking about that, and maybe a couple of users mentioned that, and hey presto, a couple of months later, we get a Supernote update where you actually get synchronization, where you can have automatic handwriting recognition. Notebooks are actually synchronizing two files, which is your handwritten file and the already converted file, all on your Google Drive automatically when you press the sync. And that is
I mean,
a
of
lot
the
of
four major
functionality.
players, they are by far the most likely to do something like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because they're just one step away. Right?
They're actually listening. They're active participants in this space.
Very interesting discussion. Voya, are you ready for your what you would not plan?
Yeah, it's going to be short.
Is it
self-explanatory?
Is it on screen now? Shall I? I'll just add it up.
Yeah. You can just add it. It's all
the reveal.
fine. Yeah, it's the reveal. There we go. So let's put them.
We get two.
Here's the thing.
Oh, I see. Yes.
Any big mid device, I would not buy. That's basically all encompassing. And first and foremost, this is the Galley. This is the S6 color.
color.
right? S6 color or S6 color plus, something like that. The reasons behind it, they are, let's put it like this. They're expensive knockoffs of books. And what you get from these devices is a secondhand experience that you can get from books devices for less money. And the policy of this company is such that I cannot in good conscience recommend any of their devices, no matter how good they might be, simply because, basically I can't stand behind a company that is not genuine. So it's simple as that. There is just like, and from the practical science standpoint, come on, this $460 is S6 Color Plus, all plastic, really scratchy, nice kind of feel for the writing. This whole thing, this is the cheapest plastic that you can possibly get. The buttons barely work. I haven't gotten to that part. I've started testing it, and it's just bad. It's like really, really bad. What was done with the Galley? It was just basically unfinished technology with the Gallery 3, which is not made for this. They tried to force it into this, and they sold it with the help of Goody Reader, who helped market it as the best thing ever, because it had Goody Reader on it, of course, so it's their device. But this is an expensive device, and a lot of people paid a lot of money for this device. They're not getting updates that are helpful, and this is effectively, in less than a year, going to become a doorstop. And I can't be okay with that. So I can't be okay with a company who's okay with creating, creates this and launches this in what was it? January? It started shipping. No, March of 2023. It started shipping. Let's just get the timeline here. March 2023, they start shipping this out. This came out in July? Something like that. So March, April, May, June. We didn't even get to half a year. And they launched another device that is directly murdering this one. This one becomes completely obsolete. So what about the users who actually spent money on this one? Now you have 5 months later, you have this replacement, which does some things quite well. I have to be honest, I'm totally honest, does quite a lot of things really well. But in their own words, is the acceptance rate of the Galley was low. So therefore, we decided to replace it with this. I get it from their business perspective, but my question again is, what about the users who spent a lot of money on this device? They didn't get even 5 months out of it. And let's not even get into the whole Goody Reader thing, because that's a very, very different and a much bigger story. But this is also a company that's totally okay with having a channel represent their devices as the best thing ever. Now, as much as I tend to criticize, for example, Remarkable spending millions of dollars on their PR campaign, they don't lie that blatantly in their PR campaigns. They do not misrepresent their products or anything like that. Gallery 3 was misrepresenting colors, how they were actually presented in promotional materials. In Goody Reader's review, content was avoided that didn't show certain colors that were not favorable to this. And then you end up with a device that has different latency depending on which color you write on. And the differences are threefold. We're not talking small differences. We're talking about between 40 milliseconds and 90 to 100 milliseconds latency depending on which pen you actually take. Not a cheap device. In 5 months, it became obsolete. And how did it become obsolete? By their own product that they launched to kill it off. And I'm sorry, when a company actually decides to do that, a lot of people justly criticize books by saying, hey, you're just rolling out so many new devices, etc., etc. This is far worse. This is the worst example that I've actually seen on the market of actually, I'm just going to pose a question again. What about people who bought Gallery 3? That's just not okay. So for that reason, and my interaction and some internal knowledge that have gotten with the interaction with Pygmy, that's my choices. Like, I would not buy Pygmy products, so that would be step number one. Step number two, I would not buy smart paper. When I was smart paper after kids sales pitch, absolutely would not buy that. That's for sure. And I would not buy. I bought my Tab Ultra C, but I would not buy it again. I'm sorry, I bought my Tab Ultra.
Yeah.
I wouldn't buy Tab Ultra if I was purchasing now and I wasn't expecting to see what new devices are going to come out. I would probably purchase Tab Ultra C, simply because yes, it has the same negatives, but somehow there's something about it for me personally that kind of aligns a little bit better. But Tab Ultra, no, I wouldn't. And I think I'm gonna surprise people with one more thing as well. And now I'm gonna get a lot of boos.
Well, hold on, before you do that, I mean, the Tab Ultra also had a short life. They were quick to replace that with a C.
Yeah.
I
on
thought
the one hand,
a little bit of a bad go, which is if they had given it a 300 pixel per inch screen, I think there's a viable argument for them both to exist.
Yeah.
But
And
the
the price is so
227
similar.
versus 300,
there's
no reason for a Tab Ultra anymore. Like it.
I would a little bit disagree with, because there's the thing that I do like, the color matrix on top on Tab Ultra C, and that's the thing that I do like. There's a lot of users who really are, they really dislike that a lot. And I see quite a few people actually going for Tab Ultra as opposed to Tab Ultra C because of that reason alone, and of course the price.
I also hate the color matrix, but I'm willing. I would rather have the pixel depth. I'd rather have 300. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, but that's a really, really good reason, and that's one of the things that also pissed me off as well with the Tab Ultra, which was like, that one's like made kind of obsolete, but not, was it? So this one came out in October, so that was November, December, January, February, March.
I think it was 6 months.
Yeah. So something roughly the same kind of thing, but it didn't make it completely obsolete. So it's very close. But not a complete obsolete thing. No. In this case, this was like a complete kind of thing. So that kind of struck a little bit harder. But
is there anything on that, gallery screen that you're just like, oh yeah, this is actually really good? Is there any content that you look at when you're reading or anything? Because obviously the gallery is a different type of color technology. Is there anything that really does look great, and you can excuse the slow refresh rate, and you really are?
If I expect a slow refresh rate and things, it still has dithering and things like that, and it's just not. It's not pleasant to look at.
And is it a software thing or is it a hardware thing? Because I mean,
no. Look at the darkness of the screen.
Mm-hmm.
And of course you're going to get the darkness. It's a little bit brighter.
This is in front of an Ultra C, though.
I don't know where my Ultra C is. Here it is.
I don't disagree, but we got to give it an apples to apples.
Yeah. So There we go. So Tab Ultra in the behind. Let's turn it off so that there we go. White. Let me just see if it has front light on. Yeah, it does. Turn it off.
Yeah.
So we got Tab Ultra C, Galley. So Galley is a little bit brighter, somewhere in between these two.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you have that, but honestly, it doesn't have a black color. I don't know if it's.
Oh yeah, that is really distracting.
It's navy teal bluish. Wait, the auto rotation. Yeah, there we go. I don't know how much the camera can pick it up, but in real life, there's no black color on Galley. It's really, really dark, really dark blue.
And so is that blue dithered as well? Like, can you see it as a combo of multiple pixels?
No, not
Okay.
really. That
Okay.
one's actually okay. So it's okay, but it's kind of distracting because there's no black color on Galley.
Yeah.
On
So
that
Vincent
display,
Van Gogh.
there's
Buy the Galley if you really like a blue pen.
Yeah, because Van Gogh famously didn't use black paint. You see, so
yeah,
this is
well,
there's
that's
no
fine
that's
because
why-
black doesn't exist in nature, of course.
Yeah, and so you know maybe and that's what that technology was designed for. It was designed to be refreshed once, left on that image for hours or days, and then change it. You know, and it would take 3 seconds to change, but it wouldn't matter because it was just essentially like a gallery. The ink were trying to design something, and it is used for that for wall art, for you know, posters in cafes, for menus on the side, and it probably is excellent for that, but it just was never designed to be an e-ink tablet.
Yeah. Question for you guys. Do you guys have Tab X? Kit, I think you have Tab X.
Yeah, I have Tab
Brandon,
X.
you have Tab X? Yeah, I have Tab X. I love it. Do you love the image quality?
Well, no, it's
No.
I mean, it isn't as good.
It's even less than the Remarkable, right? It's like 201, right, or something.
So for me,
range?
it's 207. It's 207. Yeah. So for me, the surprise was I was taken aback by like, finally, I'm going to buy a 13.3-inch device, and it's GPU, dedicated GPU enabled, and it's super fast. And I bought it after doing the review because I loved it. But then I started to compare it with the Tab Ultra, and the ghost refreshing performance, cleanliness, and image clarity. There's a huge difference between how the Tab Ultra and Tab Ultra C perform and actually the Tab X performs, and that's something that kind of bothers me. I can't.
As soon as they added the GPU or whatever that new GPU-based algorithm is, it's night and day difference. Like the Boost devices,
of course it is.
And this was just before that, in my opinion.
No, this was with the GPU.
Okay, well, that doesn't feel nearly as smooth to me as the Ultra-based devices.
And that's my point, because the Tab X is supposed to be, it is the same Tab family of devices. It is GPU enabled, and definitely it's better than the old 13.3-inch Max devices and Lumi devices. Absolutely. But it's not the same category of performance in what you actually get with the with this one. So that's something that I'm under question mark with this one. Would I buy Tab X again?
I recently done a video on drawing on it. I think it is if you want a black and white sketchbook, I mean it is fabulous.
It is a special device, but it's not without trade-off. I mean, if I could wish for what I would want, it would be a Remarkable Pro, which is a 13.3-inch Remarkable that's running 300-ish pixels per inch and is just like the Tab X. Like that would be, again, I would be curious to see what Remarkable would price that at, but I would pay an arm and a leg for that because that would be my perfect device because I'm predominantly at my desk. That it would sit here at my desk constantly.
And the A4 format is just very freeing.
Well, I mean that's why I run my Remarkable in landscape. Is it gets me closer to that, and then you just vertically scroll.
Yeah.
Now,
Then
I
the
ran
vertical
my
scroll
Tab
makes
X.
sense.
I ran my Tab X in landscape, and that was also amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can have half of it, which is almost the size of the screen on the Remarkable. Yeah, I do like it when I do properly use an A4 device or a 13.3. I do enjoy.
There's nothing like it.
Yeah. Even back to the good old paper. I think we are into questions. Any more questions on Voja's one there? That was really insightful, really interesting. All of it, you two really enjoying it. And I think we've got some really interesting questions to have a little look back on. So let's have a little look through that. This is quite a hard one at first. Most favorable or unfavorable warranty policy. It's interesting. Don't you get a extended warranty with the Books Connect? That's correct. Am I right?
Remarkable Connect.
Remarkable Connect?
Yeah.
You do.
That has to be the best.
But it doesn't cover incidental damage. So I think I mentioned this in a recent video. It's not Apple Care. Don't treat it like Apple Care.
Right.
It's really just a factory warranty. If you drop your Remarkable, they're still not likely to cover it, even with the extended warranty.
Yeah, and I know the books even say you're best to go buy from Amazon because they have excellent return policies and they can just handle it in your region so much better. I don't know if I can comment on many of the other ones. I know Remarkable also have 100
has a very similar kind of thing, which is not really like fairly standard stuff. So nothing really to write home about.
Yeah, I mean, I guess let me start by saying I've never had to return any of these devices, but the Kindle Scribe is probably the easiest one to return.
Yeah.
And you get the benefits of a big company like Amazon. But ultimately, I don't think the warranty policy is amazing on any of them. So just hope it doesn't break.
Yeah.
Good, but I think that's really kind of the situation we're in.
I wouldn't say just hope it doesn't break. Actually, I would just give a piece of advice, which is if you buy a device that's pricey and that you like and that you want to use, buy an insurance on it. Like third-party insurance on it, and that's not going to be expensive, especially if you tack it on top of your existing insurance plan. And that way, you are not depending on the return policies, the warranties, or anything like that. You buy your own insurance policy, and then you have your devices insured. So that you can do for the devices that are important to you, so that when accidental damage does happen, you are covered and you don't think about that. And you're not dependent on, hey, what about for example, with the books, yes, but we have the return fee and then storage fee and then this fee and then this and that, and then you get a little bit of it. You never get your import tax back and things like that. I mean, in the long run, if you're going to have a device that you're going to keep for years, you get an insurance on it and you don't think about it. That's just the normal way of doing things.
Another interesting one here. Best reader foremost also has note-taking capabilities. I think unless you are absolutely, if you use Kindle, I think the Kindle Scribe is a good reader with note-taking.
I'll say that sounds like Kindle Scribe to me.
It does, yeah. But also the Kobo Ellipsa 2E is actually a really nice device, and actually it's plastic. It feels a bit lighter. It's there's something nice about that device. I think we all were pleasantly surprised by that. You'd lose the Wacom EMR stylus, which is like the heart of the note-taking. That's the heart of the Remarkable note-taking feel, isn't it? And that's really one of the big things of this whole sort of revolution of e-ink tablets that we've had in the last sort of 5 years has been the Wacom EMR stylus. And you don't get that on the Kobo. But then if you want to use any cloud library for reading, then it's got to be a books device, really, as a great reader. Probably the Note Air.
For me, still. Yeah, if it's a combo, because we have a 50-50 question as well, it's got to be a books device.
Excellent. Where's the tech? There's a couple about syncing to clouds. There's been a few about this. I think we've actually covered this quite a bit earlier on in the thing. Convert it to digital font. For me, the best integration of that is the Supernote, but actually they're all quite good at this now. Even the Kindle Scribe has a rudimentary handwriting recognition and then change things. I think that it's a difficult one. Uploaded to a cloud software, and do you have to like pull it out and put it back in? Probably still the worst. Although the thing about the book's handwriting recognition is you can use it everywhere. You can any textbook.
I think for me, I do this a good bit. I mean, the key thing for me is I have the Remarkable app running on my computer, and I convert whatever the handwriting is, and then I just copy it right out of the app.
You edit it on your normal keyboards, and so it's about workflows, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they all do the basics. It's really about reducing friction here and a workflow that works for you. I think the accuracy is pretty good there. I did a video on that even before the Scribe had it, and Supernote, Remarkable, and Books were all within like 90+% accuracy.
Cool. I think Voja, you might want to lead on this one. What do you think about Books' ability to develop and optimize their devices? Because Voja's made the point regularly, which is an interesting point, that books make updates so thick and so fast that they don't always sit well together, if that makes sense. And they change some key things that you sort of used to doing on the device, and it changes the functionality in a way that makes you sort of feel like you've lost skills.
And you've lost a key piece of the device. Now, I also think that books updates are massive, and they introduce a lot of noise. Talk about distraction, right? First of all, massive distraction to suddenly force a user to unlearn things that already took a long time to learn, because it's not the most intuitive. It's one of the most unintuitive platforms out of the big ones that we're talking about. And then on top of that,
it is the most unintuitive.
Yeah, the most.
All the tools are there. You got to go find them, though.
Oh my God! Do you really have to dig with a pickaxe and a map and a flashlight and the whole stick? And then you finally, manage to make a routine, and 6 months, it takes you 6 months to get there. They issue a big update, which suddenly scrambles all of the options all over the place. And that introduces a lot of noise. However, what it also happens is that in those updates, they are introducing really meaningful and good things. They are gradually, definitely improving the platform. But I will just kind of go back to the whole thing. A lot of noise is there, and it's like 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. And then the 2 steps back really sit bad with you, so you forget about that 1 step forward that did happen. And continually, we do get a bit, but not much.
And along that line, I always feel like there's a better way to do something on the books. And so instead of focusing on what I'm supposed to be doing, anytime I feel friction, I go down the rabbit hole of, can I remove that friction? And it brings me back to the Remarkable, which is, I know what it can do, I know what it can't do, and there are no questions. It is what it is, and for good or for bad, it's forthright.
This question is an interesting one.
It's straightforward and honest.
Yeah. So how does the Tab Alt-C handle large text documents, both in file size and word count? Yeah, it's fine. And it is, you've got over 100,000. I don't know whether I've tested specifically that sort of word count, but the thing is that you can have, both in your, you've actually followed up, I think you're interested in both in like a Word file or, or its own word processor. I've never got anywhere near that length in its own word processor. But certainly within Word, I've handled and scrolled through and edited and manipulated cloud files within Word, and it does it as you'd expect an Android tablet to do. So you can feel confident, I think, from our responses on that one.
I think it can handle workloads as best as any of the others. I mean, by far, I think it can handle that the best.
Yeah, excellent. More questions. Should we expect more memory and storage on the A5X2? I don't think so. Am I right in saying that?
I think it's started to.
Yeah. It's a bit awkward, right? Which is, we're replacing this device. The hardware inside is going to be a little different, but you shouldn't expect better performance.
They're also doing this because they don't want you to feel that you're an A5X owner and your device has become obsolete. And that is, there is a difficult line for companies to tread on this. On the one hand, you've got the valid criticism that companies put out new devices so quickly. That is also their way of developing. and that is also their way of moving technology on. And we don't have the same criticism often leveled at Apple every year for putting out a new iPhone, and that's just expected from them. But we also, in the world of right to repair and replaceable batteries being insisted on, that they are trying their best to do a responsible, the opposite of a responsible consumer, a responsible producer of tech. And I applaud them for that, and I'm interested by that. And I'm wondering whether I need to try out and review the A5X2, because what they're saying is, what are the changes? A replaceable battery.
Different spine on the back, different spine on the back, and different end. Yeah, different SoC.
Let me give you a hypothetical, Kit. Your A5X burns today, and you need to replace it. Do you buy an A5X, or do you wait for A5X2?
Yeah, right now I do that, because I think that's the one that is coming. No, isn't the A6X2 coming in November? Is that right?
Yeah, I think it's this.
I think it's first A6X2 and then A5X2.
Okay, so let's use the 6 as the example. You wait for a 6X2.
Yeah, well, my wife's the user of that, so I'd have to ask. She uses that one and loves it, and absolutely loves it for what she does. But I probably do wait for that. I don't think the rail on the back is enough of a flaw, but just knowing it's the newer system on chip, I think is worth having at this point.
Well, and for as long as they support it, I would want the modern hardware when they do refresh it, because they don't intend to refresh it again for a while until their hands forced.
Or do you actually just wait for the Slim to come out, the A5 Slim, which has been discussed for a long time? Or there was a couple of comments about A4X, which could be an amazing device. Could be absolutely.
That's the one to wait for.
Yeah. Alan Tech has just asked, or Alien Tech has just asked, do they update the RM1 to match the RM2? But there must be a point where they're not going to do that. Surely there must be a point where that hardware just won't handle the RM2, or in the next iteration of device, do they then finally say, no, we can't actually keep the exact same software running, because it is the exact same software. It certainly has been for some time.
Wouldn't be surprised if you lose Remarkable 1 support whenever Remarkable 3 comes.
I think when we get to OS 3, when we get to OS 3, I don't see how this is sustainable. No, 2 point something.
I thought we were technically on 3.
Are we? No, sorry. We are on 3 since the typing thing. Sorry. We talked so much about
3.7.0.1.
So when we get to when we get to the 4, sorry, it's 11:27 p.m. So I'm a little. It's when we get to the next big iteration, I think they are probably going to drop it, because I honestly don't think this is sustainable from a business perspective. And they've kept it at this point for 6 years, updated to the latest OS. That's a big run, and that's a really, really nice thing to actually see, that you have a 6-year-old device that's still running the current software.
Cool.
One more?
Yeah. Let's do this one. Interesting. The single most important feature you consider when using any of these tablets. From watching this, I'm sure, absolutely right. We would all have varying opinions. When I read this a little while ago, Vladimir, when I started and thought about this, I would say now it's become the ability to use Android apps. For me, I spend probably more time in Android apps of one description or the other than I do in the Notepad or in the simple PDF reader. And that's an interesting one. I wasn't expecting that. I was quite skeptical when Tab Ultra came out, Tab Ultra came out, or it was announced. I was quite skeptical at the marketing of a e-ink PC. I still think that's an incorrect piece of marketing, because
I would second your opinion of that.
Yeah, but it is the closest to that experience that you can currently get. And so for me, that's currently the single most. I'm now a little bit frustrated by the devices that don't allow me to do any or integrate it with any app that I wish to. But I'm a user of Android, and I like that. And when I started, I wanted just a notepad replacement, and that is still the main kind of thing that I do on it. I would say is be my planner, and I use so many different ones that I'm constantly having to live with this. But I'm always using my Tab Ultra C at this point, because I'm always wanting to do productivity things on Android apps on an e-ink screen, because of the benefits of e-ink screen that we've talked about quite a lot. It's just such a pleasure to use. The real hero of this entire thing is the company e-ink. They are making some amazing things, and these companies have just seen a new use of e-ink, rather than it just be for your small e-readers, and they have really risen to the kind of task. And it's actually been the last few generations of these color screens that have got it close to the speed that you need to be a productivity power. So that's my answer to that one. Yeah, it's apps.
Yeah, and I would just address on after giving the S6 a really rough time, that it is also utilizing that color e-ink technology, and this is a really good demonstration of what you can actually get out of that panel without the use of the book's GPU device. Because on its own, if it didn't trump the galley and if it wasn't the whole kind of thing, this is actually a device that does show in a really good way what you can get and where we are at in 2023 with the e-ink technology, which is a really good place to be. Now, as far as my own answer goes to what's the single most important feature I consider when using any of these tablets, I can't really call that a feature, but for me is, does this device make me happy or not? So it's a completely different kind of thing, and that varies from the device to device, and I can't really predict what about the device is gonna make me happy about it. Why the happiness? Because it's gonna make me want to interact with it, warts and all, right? So I'm gonna be far more likely to use that device, despite all of these devices have strong points and weak points. So I would be far more inclined to use it if I have an emotional connection that I have formed for some reason. For example, case in point, my Note Air 2. Oh, I still mourn it, right? Because I've sold it. But once I've gotten it, and then Supernote came in with the added stuff with the titles, or now they're called headings and link, and then I started using that, and then you start actually forming a different type of set of memories that I've built while using this device, and that becomes a familiar, homey feel. And that's the same thing that you get with any device that gives you, like Brandon says, it's like whatever, warts and all, but remarkable too is for me that. And I'm pretty sure that it feels like home for you, as the book Tab Ultra probably feels like home to Kit, right? So for me, it's that. I can't predict what it will be on different devices. It will vary from a device to device, and it's as subjective as it can possibly be. But does the device make me happy or not?
Yeah, and I think mine is similar. Mine's kind of a theme. I'd say that theme is distraction free. And so my whole goal here is, what device enables me to go into deep focus and get out of my way. And so I've tried it with the books, and I always end up coming back to the Remarkable. And it's because of that distraction free, and that it allows me to just integrate, like you were saying, like it makes you happy and you enjoy using it. So yeah, that's for me.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I would say is, I did a similar overview of the Lenovo in my review of it, and I ended by saying it's all of these things, but it's still brilliant, because an e-ink notepad is an excellent thing, and these are an excellent category of devices. And so think about,
great point. With any of these, I wouldn't go back to my Moleskine for them.
For sure.
There's no going back.
Couldn't go back, and that's worth knowing. So that has been absolutely amazing. It's been over 2 hours now, but we are back again on the 29th of October. We are trying our best to ensure this is going to be our thing. We're always going to have one date in the diary for the next time. That might be subject to change, obviously. Be looking out for notifications. Be looking out for you know what I'm trying to say. Look out.
Yeah.
We'll post something, a new thumbnail with a new idea of what we'll discuss next time. Thanks so much for hanging out and asking good questions and
Thank you
making
so
good
much.
comments. Isn't it great? Thank you all so much. This has just been great fun, and we've got. Sorry, we haven't been able to answer all of your questions.
Yeah. Really appreciate for everybody's attention and question and engagement and everything. And thank you again to both you guys, Brendan and Kit, because this is like a really nice thing to have, like super niche area to nerd out in.
Where do we find 3 people who want to talk about this stuff for 2 hours?
And get excited about this? That's just freaking precious. So thank you guys.
Do let us know down in the comments what you'd like to see us discuss in the future. And thank you so much to each of you who watched. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Bye, guys. Well done, everybody. Bye. Thank you.